All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Since we're live on Facebook and it looks like we've got all our friends coming into the room, I want to welcome everybody to the 2024 Classy Webinar Series, ASI Research Wednesdays. We're very excited that we can offer this next webinar series. I'm Dr. Suzanne Smith-Rowley, and along with Dr. Zoe Mailloux, we're very privileged to be able to put these together with our beloved colleagues and friends, and also with the generous support from Southpaw Enterprises. And we definitely want to thank them from the bottom of our hearts for their ongoing support for these webinars. This is now the fourth in the series. All right, thank you. Yeah, go ahead. And Zoe, you want to?
Okay, yeah, so I'd like to join Suzanne in welcoming everyone. So we're really excited that the theme this year is around research, research then and now. And of course, we know that we are gathered here because of Ayers sensory integration. Some of us were very fortunate to have the wonderful opportunity to be mentored by Dr. Ayers. And of course, she was very committed to research for her entire career. I think what is important for us to maybe think about is that Dr. Ayers was also a clinician, and we have so many clinicians from around the world who join us. Tonight, we're going to hear from some eminent researchers and educators, but we have so many clinicians who join us. And Dr. Ayers really valued what she learned from her patients in terms of guiding her research. So I think if we keep that in mind, that all of us, any of us who are in clinical practice can think about the questions that come our way from the children, from the patients, and think about how we might, in simple ways to even more complex ways, contribute to understanding so that we all can have more evidence. So I think that's enough. We'll move on to the next slide. Okay, so, and I think that Suzanne has already introduced the webinar series for the year, and again, our thank you to Southpaw for your support. We are recording the webinars, so you'll be able to listen just in case you're at some ungodly hour wherever you happen to be. But don't leave at the end, because we do have some prizes, and we will be announcing those at the end of the webinar. Okay, so I'm so thankful to you, Suzanne, for giving me the opportunity to welcome our speakers. Before I do a little introduction to our main speakers, I just want to mention that in case you're seeing the panelists, we do have some really illustrious panelists with us tonight, Dr. Claire Jafita and Dr. Sue Knox, and they will be sharing some really great news with us at the end of the webinar. So hopefully you can stay for the whole thing. If not, you'll be able to hear that on the recording. So I'm so happy to introduce my very good friends and colleagues, Dr. Roseanne Schaaf. You can see her very long list of accomplishments. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but Dr. Schaaf is certainly, we are just so lucky and fortunate to have you in our ASI community and our family. Oh yes, look at all the love coming your way, Roseanne. It's so well deserved. You have done, I always say that you have done more for Ayers sensory integration than maybe anyone else since Dr. Ayers' time. And we're so thrilled that you're being recognized as the Eleanor Clark Slagle next year at the AOTA conference. So you've got the award this year. We can't wait to hear all the ways that you will continue to contribute and guide us and lead us. Oh, Suzanne, good thing you're not talking, because you'd be crying now looking at those hearts coming our way. So I think Roseanne's work speaks for itself. And then also our really great friend and colleague, Dr. Kelly Aldright, who's just a shining star, emerging leader in air sensory integration. She's a clinician, she's an educator, she's a researcher. We're so lucky to have her with us at Classy, as we now have Roseanne as well as our director of research, and Kelly's working closely with Roseanne in that capacity. So both of these speakers, I mean, we just have such an amazing set of friends, colleagues, and mentors around us that lead the way in continuing the evolution of air sensor integration. So I'm going to turn it over to our speakers so we have as much time with them as possible.
Thank you, Zoe, Suzanne, and everybody for all the love, and Kelly, my partner in crime. So I'm happy to be here tonight to kick off this webinar series about research. You'll see at the end that we have some good topics planned. We've tried to strike a balance between educating you about research and also helping you get the tools that you need to start to think about critical inquiry and areas of investigation that you might be interested in air sensory integration. And even if you aren't interested in doing the research, understanding how to analyze and apply the research that we have. So I think these webinars will really help you in many, many ways. At the end of tonight's session, don't go away, because we're going to be talking about a special new scholarship that will be available. So I'll just pass that right by for now. So without further ado, let's get into it here and talk about what is research. So it's a seeking knowledge via systematic investigation. So, you know, the two key words there are knowledge and systematic. So it's a systematic way of generating knowledge. Or you can synthesize existing knowledge and have that lead to new outcomes as well. And in fact, that's a good place for many of you to start. One thing I love about research is that it's a creative endeavor. It definitely uses my whole brain and it allows me to be creative in my thinking. And the thing I like about it the most is that it really applies so readily to clinical practice to help the children and families that we serve. So as we said, research is creative in that it may view issues or problems from a new perspective and generate interesting or unusual outcomes. So you do this to try to generate knowledge or understand a topic. Importantly, you control for bias and error during research. So how do you get started? Well, you start with a research question. And really, even before that, you choose a topic. What is an area that you're interested in learning more about? I often hear, you know, topics that are related to clinical practice, but also there's lots of other topics related to the different components of air sensory integration. Then you conduct a preliminary review of the literature to see what's already been done. And this helps you focus your topic. This is such an important step because we all come with big questions because we're working with complex individuals. And what we do as occupational therapists is very multifaceted. So it's really important to focus your topic so that you can do it in a way that's going to be systematic and worthwhile. And then once you do these steps, you can really rewrite your research question. So I thought we'd start with an example. I'm not sure if you're aware of this new article that came out that looked at the long-term impact of an occupational therapy intervention for children with challenges in sensory processing and sensory integration. And I chose it because it was new, and I thought maybe many of you hadn't heard about it yet and would like to, but also because they did a really nice job of going through these steps of research that we're talking about now and going to talk about. And before I click off this slide, you can see that in their abstract, well, maybe you can't see because it's kind of small, but what you can see in the abstract is that they went through this very systematic process of steps that I'll take you through now. So the first one was to choose a topic. And in this example, they chose to look at the long-term impact of occupational therapy for children with challenges in sensory integration. And then they conducted a review of the literature to see what has already been done looking at this long-term impact. And there was little or no existing data. So that's always good and bad, because if it's good, it means you chose an innovative area of practice. And whatever you do, it's going to contribute to the knowledge in that area. But it's challenging because you don't have any guidance from the literature. So that has a mixed benefit there. And then, so once you conduct your review, you can begin to focus your research question. And they pose the question, are the changes in individualized goals maintained following occupational therapy intervention for children with sensory integration challenges? So you can see how much they focused it. From long-term outcomes, they looked at individualized goals for these children. So the research question is, are the documented changes as a result of occupational therapy for children with sensory challenges sustained over time? And really, that should say, are the documented changes in individualized goals? Next, you want to create your aims or hypothesis, another really good step. So I just want to pause for a moment and say to you, people that are online, many of you or online have come to Kelly and I interested in research and asking us, where do I get started? What do I do? So think about what your clinical irritation or area of interest is, what your research question might be, try to focus it, just have some paper available and make some notes, because hopefully we'll have some time for questions and guidance at the end where we can talk about some of these things. And so once you have your question, you develop your aim or your hypothesis. And your aim is sort of like the objective of your study, and the hypothesis is what you'll be testing with your study. So the aim is to evaluate whether changes in individualized goals are maintained at 6 to 12 months following intervention. That's a tight aim. That's a measurable aim. That's a clear aim. We know we're going to evaluate changes in individualized goals at 6 and 12 months following intervention. And secondly, to determine which aspects of occupational therapy are perceived by parents as the most valuable. So I think you can see here that once you have your aim and hypothesis, it sets you up to start thinking about, how are you going to design this study, and what are your methods and procedures going to be? So the next thing you do then is design your study. And when you're designing your study, think about different designs that you might want to utilize. Many of us use descriptive research, which talks about what has already been done in the past and what's going on here, like observing children's patterns of behavior. For example, one of our students described the patterns of sensory integration in children with autism. Actually, Suzanne did that. And then another student did it in children with ADHD. So that's kind of a descriptive study, taking data and describing the patterns or what you see, asking yourself, what's going on here? You can also do diagnostic study design, which is, what do these existing data tell us? For example, what percentage of autistic children show challenges in sensory integration? Or you might want to do predictive. Children with autism will improve in their goals after 10 weeks of OT intervention. That would be a predictive study. A prescriptive study, all children with autism will benefit from OT-SI. or a grounded theory study, an approach to developing or advancing the theory based on systematic gathering and analyzing data and allowing the theory to emerge. So think about the kind of design that you're going to use, and then you'll proceed through these additional steps. So choose your design in the red bar there. Identify your population and sampling method. Who are you going to study? How will you sample them? For example, snowball sampling, which means that you reach out to your professional network and then they reach out to their professional network, or a convenient sampling, which is using the children that you have access to or your professional network has access to. Choose your methods for data collection and procedures. Think about what instruments you'll use for measurement and how and when you might administer them. And then decide on your data analysis strategies. Will you be describing the data? Will you be making predictions? Will you be making prescriptive analyses? So I think you can appreciate, excuse me, that there's a lot to think about before you even take the first step in your research study. And all of these things are super important. I wanted to talk a little bit more about these types of research. You can see them on the left-hand side: descriptive, which we talked about; qualitative, which is collecting data from informants and then doing thematic analysis of it; quantitative data, where you analyze numbers, variables; correlational data, where you examine the relationships between two or more variables; exploratory research, which investigates questions that have not been studied in depth yet; experimental, in which a treatment or procedure or program is introduced and the results or outcomes are observed; applied, it uses existing knowledge to find practical solutions to real-world problems. This is a place where many of you might be interested. Implementation research is kind of a newer area of research, which is the study of methods to promote the adoption and integration of evidence-based practice. It's really kind of an exciting area of research. And in fact, our next research webinar will be two individuals who will talk about implementation research and implementation science, which, as I said, is a kind of a new and emerging science. And then I don't want you to forget about case studies and case reports and single subject research designs, because again, this is a place where it makes sense that many of you can get started in research. A case study provides information to further understand a phenomenon. For example, how does this child with this condition respond to this intervention, like air sensory integration? So it's really nice to do a systematic case report or a case study because it really does forward our thinking, it forwards our theory, it forwards our practice, and it sets the stage for experimental, quantitative, qualitative kinds of research. Also, single subject research designs are where you do repeated measurements to understand an individual's response to treatment. More rigorous and quantitatively rooted than case studies, and very strong at providing evidence for an intervention. Some of you might be familiar with a recent study by Colleen Whiting, Sarah Schoen, and colleagues, where they did a single subject research design with 3 children in the schools using a combination of air sensory integration and the STAR Center intervention. And they were able to show very nice outcomes on these repeated measures. So the type of research and design is based on the subject matter, but also the resources available and the research questions. that you're asking, research question. For clinicians, case studies or case reports and single subject research design and implementation research may be the most appropriate. So that's why we're going to spend time on them. And I wanted to just call your attention to case report research. There is a very systematic guide for how to do it. You'll see the bullets there, and I'll have to go through them all, but you'll notice that it walks you through the steps, which is really nice. And what we've done is published on the Classy website a case report outline that takes each one of those areas and elaborates on it. And honestly, if you follow this guide, you will be able to make or to create a good case report. And I don't know how many of you know me from way back when, but really that's how I got started in research, working with Kathleen McCune. We did a case report of a child with sensory integration challenges, and we reported on the changes that happened. And then we did another one. And then before you know it, we were doing randomized control trials. But it really helped us get to that place. And in addition, this guide that we have posted online uses the steps of hypothesis generation and treatment planning to data-driven treatment planning to guide your systematic case report. So I really recommend that you take a look at that in more detail. Lucas, I see you have your hand raised, but we're going to hold questions for the end. So just hold that question. And then Kelly did a great job of going into the journals, existing journals, to see which journals publish case reports, because not all do, but there is a great number of occupational therapy and occupational therapy related journals that do publish case reports. And before you start any research study that you think you're going to publish, think about what journal you're going to publish it in and try to set it up according to the journal's guidelines. And that'll really help you move it along in a systematic way and save you time in the long run. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly now, who's going to show you some of the other resources that we have on the Classy web pages that can help you think about and get started in research. Kelly?
Thanks, Roseanne. So just a review for everybody. Those of you that have been following Classy have noticed that we have updated our website. So we just wanted to give you a quick orientation of where things can be found again. And so if you go to cl-asi.org and click up here, the research button, you'll see that we have research support program as well as research briefs. You can move it ahead. If you click the research support program button, and good, and scroll down the page, you'll see here that we have kind of a summary of what Roseanne went over earlier about the types of research. And so you can click here for the different types of research to give yourself a reminder of what those are when you're starting to look at something. We will be adding that case report template that Dr. Schaaf shared soon, probably in the next few days here. We realized, oh, it's not there yet. And so you will be able to find that on the research support program page as well. And if you go ahead and go forward, that's it. That's it for the, for the website. I was always going to share some of the research that is going on with the EZ. I myself am working on an inter-rater reliability study to put it through for IRB. And so, but I know Zoe's got some other groups that are working on some different aspects. So I'll turn it over to you, Zoe.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, so one of the things that we really hoped for with the EZ making it an open access test is that it would allow for much more ease in research in terms of assessment, being very low cost, basically free. And I think that's coming to fruition. We have many graduate students around the globe who are engaging in a wide variety of research with these new assessment tools. We've been really fortunate to have the test retest reliability project that Kelly mentioned is getting started. Their group is working on inter-rater reliability. We've been fortunate to have test-retest reliability studied by Dr. Jenny Peterson and her students in Iowa. We have some students, graduate students, working on factor analyses. I'll put in a quick little plug for the International Sensory Integration Congress that will be held in Australia this year. And I know that there are many people who are doing research with the EASY who will be presenting at that Congress. So, you know, we are very open to working with you, and clinicians gather big data sets pretty quickly. Our colleagues in Australia have been amazing. They have been testing so many children with the EASY. I think they now have hundreds of cases in their data bank. And so I would just encourage all of you, as you're using these tests, to be systematic and methodical and think about your clinical irritations, your research questions. And we're really happy to set up research projects for you with the scoring program for ease in pulling your data and being able to really answer those research questions that you might have. Was that,
Thank you,
was there
Zoe.
something specific I was supposed to cover other than
Nope,
that?
that's it. Very
Okay,
good. Thank
thanks.
you. The next slide is wrap up and questions. But before we get there, we're going to move back to or over to Dr. Claire Jafrida and Sue Knox, who are going to talk to you about something new that's happening, a surprise announcement. So I'll turn it over to you two now.
All right, well, I think I'll jump in here just for a second, just to give a little bit broader introduction to Sue and to Claire. You know, Sue and Claire have been longstanding colleagues and mentors of all of ours, and they were really some of the original faculty working with Dr. Ayers to promote her theories and her methods and the Southern California Sensory Integration and Praxis Test way back in the you know, early to mid 1970s, and they remained committed throughout a long and illustrious careers, respectively. And I just want to thank them for all that they've contributed to occupational therapy, and then their, all their contributions to sensory integration. You probably know Sue Knox from the Knox Play Scale. And Claire has done so much in the area of sensory integration, but also motor control. That was, an area of expertise. So anyway, I mean, we could say more about their career, but tonight they're going to tell us about an exciting new project. And so I think I'll stop there and I'll let Claire or Sue, whoever wants to go next, to tell us more about it.
Can you hear me? Hi.
We can hear you, Sue. We can't, Claire is on mute, so.
Claire's on mute. Yeah, I'm speaking first. So anyway, hi, I'm Sue Knox, and tonight we're going to tell you about a wonderful, wonderful new scholarship that's available for occupational therapists working in sensory integration and processing. I'm going to read some of the information because I want to make sure that I get all the details out for you so that you know what you're going to be doing. The American Occupational Therapy Foundation has a new scholarship to support OT scientists working in the area of sensory integration and sensory processing. And it's called the Dr. A. Jean Ayers Occupational Therapy Doctoral Candidate Research Scholarship. And it's been created in recognition of Dr. Ayers as the organizer and the originator of sensory integration theory, and for her significant contributions to the practice of OT and child development. AOTF, through donor contributions, has created this new doctoral level scholarship honoring Dr. Ayers. By investing in emerging scientists working in sensory integration and processing, AOTF is directly helping to build the evidence needed to raise the visibility of sensory integration throughout the OT community. This AOTF scholarship is one of only a few specifically available for OT doctoral students working in this field, and the only one that focuses specifically on research in sensory integration and processing. The scholarship award is for $5,000, and AOTA has been gifted $25,000 to support the fund for 5 years, starting in 2025. And the first application process is opening in August. Applications will be open from August 1st to September 15th, 2024, and that's just around the corner. So please visit the AOTF website, which is www.aotf.org, to view the details, including eligibility requirements, and apply. If you want further details about the origins of the ATOF doctoral level scholarships and eligibility requirements, go to the grant section of AOTF, because that's where the doctoral level research scholarships are housed. So if you or anyone you know is eligible, please apply or encourage others to apply. AOTF is looking forward to honoring Dr. Ayers' research legacy and supporting emerging occupational therapy scientists in this area for the next 5 years, if not longer. And now Claire will talk about the current endowment campaign.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you all for being here tonight. I am Claire Jafrida, and I'm going to speak more about the current campaign to now endow the scholarship. We have a scholarship in place, and we have been gifted $25,000 for this scholarship that will go on for 5 years. But now I'm going to tell you about the importance of endowing the scholarship. So I'm going to speak more about the endowment campaign. The endowment campaign is the second phase of honoring Jean Ayers' legacy and supporting ongoing research evidence in the area of sensory integration and processing. In order to explain how the scholarship and this campaign came about, I'm going to take a step back and explain a little more about my recent work as a volunteer with AOTF. Through volunteering with AOTF's Development Council, the fundraising arm of AOTF, as well as through speaking with many AOTF donors and becoming more knowledgeable about the different initiatives supported by AOTF, I began to consider the different funded research needs within our profession and how I, as a donor and volunteer, could best contribute. What was most appealing to me was the idea of establishing an AOTF dissertation scholarship. This scholarship was to support an emerging occupational therapy scientist, and most importantly, honoring the legacy of Dr. A. Jean Ayers and her profound influence on our profession and so many lives. Early in Sue's career and in my career, we had, as previously mentioned, the distinct privilege of knowing, studying, and teaching with Dr. Ayers. And we were a part of the original SI faculty that taught sensory integration, theory, testing, and treatment throughout the United States. I connected with some of the original faculty that knew Jean, and finally, with the generous contribution of Dr. Susan Knox, complementing my equal donation, the idea for Dr. A. Jean Ayers Research Scholarship became a reality in December of 2023. However, Sue and I didn't want to stop there, and with the support of AOTF's Chief Development Officer, Larry Leaf, and additional AOTF Developmental Council and Committee volunteers, including Dr. Joanne Flanagan, Dr. Sue Knox, and Amy Pillar, the campaign to endow the Dr. A. Jean Ayers Research Scholarship became a reality. To endow the scholarship, our goal is to raise $125,000 over the next 5 years. The endowment will provide support for the scholarship and for research within the area of sensory integration and processing to be funded for years to come. This goal is lofty, but with the support of the extensive SI community, meaning every one of you, we hope that our dream will become your dream and in time, our shared reality. To date, donations have started to come forward from those that knew Jean or were teaching faculty with her. However, we are now extending our ask for endowment donations to all in the vibrant SI community, including Classy, to reach the endowment goal of $125,000. Please step up and donate to the Dr. A. Jean Ayers Research Scholarship Endowment Fund through the donation page on the AOTF website, www.aotf.org. All contributions, large or small, are appreciated, and you can donate on a one-time basis, monthly, annually, or through estate planning. Please designate your contribution to go to the Dr. A. Jean Ayers Research Scholarship. Your support will continue Dr. Ayers' legacy, support emerging OT scientists, and ultimately build an increasing body of knowledge, supporting sensory integration and processing research in OT for many, many years. Thank you for your time and attention. And any questions?
Thank you, Claire and Sue. I'm just so excited. I'm jumping out of my skin. This is so great that we're going to be able to support individuals who are interested in extending and promoting the knowledge base and the research in this area. I just wanted to show them maybe how to go to the AOTF webpage. So I clicked on it. You should be seeing it in your screen now. Are you? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
You are?
yes.
Okay, and then do you just click on this button, Claire, right here? Or is there a special button?
I actually have to enlarge this. Okay.
So
Now,
there's a donate button right here.
okay, the donate button should bring you actually to the donate application. If you want more information on the scholarship. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think if you go to see, Roseanne, go up a little bit, I think where it says there's a place where you can choose the scholarship.
Scholarship.
No.
Go to grants. Grants.
Scholarships are.
Grants.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. Look, there it is right there. Grants.
And then-
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah.
Grants, and then there you go. Okay,
This describes more the details of the scholarship. The
and here's your
donate is
donation.
If you want to give money, go to donate. And then
Yep,
just make sure you click on the Ayers Research Scholarship.
yes, thank you. I just thought it would be useful for people to
Absolutely.
see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, myself
Yes.
included.
Yeah.
Okay, so Suzanne, I think I'll turn it back over to you. Now, the next slide is about the Classy certificate in air sensory integration, and then we want to tell them about the upcoming webinars and then take any questions.
Okay, well, I mean, this is really, kind of at the conclusion, so I think we can, just remind people that of what we're doing in terms of the certificate program. We're really embedding research into the clinical reasoning within our materials, and we're updating as fast as we can to keep up with current research. There's so much going on out there that it's hard to make sure we've captured everything, but I think working as a team as we do in sensory integration with so many experts contributing and sharing their knowledge and their expertise, it has made it possible for really to improve the professional reasoning of practitioners that we have the privilege to work with around the world. Yeah, if you go to the next slide. So, well, you know, I'm personally very excited about everything we're talking about in this particular webinar, that, you know, to kind of introduce our point of view and the work being done in research and possibilities. What does research mean, and how, you know, how do we support research? Because it's in my mind, it's a little vast and overwhelming to think, where do we even begin? And I know, you know, from, you know, having a little time with Dr. Ayers, she was constantly telling everybody, go get an advanced degree, you know, sit at the table with a PhD or well, at that time they didn't have OTDs, but sit at the table as a doctorate, you know, eye to eye with other doctoral level professions like psychologists, and have the dialogue at an equal level of you know, kind of, you know, your professional degree. Now, when you do that, when you get those advanced degrees, you know, which each level of whether, you know, you're going into a master's program or a doctoral program, those programs teach you how to critically analyze the research, but then also to create the knowledge, and creating the knowledge is really what we're talking about doing when you're planning a research project. But some of the dilemmas we had, or growing pains we had in occupational therapy with research, was we didn't know how to do it very well. So we had a lot of passion, but not enough guidance. And I think that's where Roseanne's work has really showed us how to be more rigorous in the design, and how to get in to do the grant writing. I mean, these are steps that are each expertise in their own right, you know, and it's what we didn't know how to do already. So anyway, the remaining topics in our webinar series will tackle some of these very difficult questions, but I'm very pleased to know that, you know, CLASI is able to support research on some level, and certainly the work of you know, that Sue and Claire are doing is another whole level. And yeah, and I think it's a good time maybe to open it up to questions. I know there's some in the Q&A section for you guys.
Yeah, I would thank you, Suzanne. And I just wanted to compliment you for the way that the CLASI educational program has been able to integrate and apply neuroscience, developmental science, occupational science into the training for air sensory integration. It's really quite unique across fields. And then I was just looking for the slide that shows us the topic of the other sessions, but I don't think it's in here. So as I said last time, next time is implementation science, and the time after that in August is going to be I think it's Dr. Shelley Lane and no, Dr. Anita Bundy and Patricia Grady talking about analyzing statistics, understanding and analyzing statistics in research. So we have some really good topics coming up. Okay, we can move on to the questions then, Marco. I saw there was one about how do you create a research question?
Exactly. And I can relate to that so well, because you know, being a PhD student, it's the thing that you are caring the most, right? Because the research question guides your research. So I wonder if you have any topics, any suggestions on how to approach this, how to formulate or approach the research question.
Yeah, well, as I said, the most important thing is to find your area of interest, or sometimes it's called your clinical irritation. You know, for me, it was, I really in my heart saw how occupational therapy using air sensory integration was helping children and families, and I was so annoyed with the fact that there wasn't enough evidence to support it. So that became a clinical irritation for me. And, you know, my first research question was, as I said, a descriptive case report where we looked at how a particular child with sensory integration challenges, no particular diagnosis, but with a particular set of occupational participation challenges, how he proceeded through occupational therapy and what his outcomes were. And then from there, we started to ask questions. And I'm not suggesting this of the listeners yet, because asking questions that require experimental research, because that takes a whole lot of support and resources. But think about the clinical irritations that you have in your clinic. And you know, they might be around the vestibular system, they might be around one of the sensory systems, they might be around the EASY, they might be around the best way to analyze the assessment data that you get from the EASY, and maybe you come up with a new assessment interpretation analysis tool, who knows? So you know, really think about that, and then pick something that's doable. I'm sure you can speak to that as well, Marco and Kelly and others. You have to find, you know, we all have delusions of grandeur, but you have to start somewhere, and it's better to start simply and get it done than to start grand and not get it done because it's too complicated. And I think that hopefully these slides are available, or the recording's available, so you can go back through those steps that I put in the slides about what are some strategies or steps to create a research question.
Mhm.
Roseanne, could I just give a quick example of a little project that some participants and some mentors from Brazil are engaging in? Almost every course, someone asks us if the nystagmus reflex changes after therapy, after intervention. And I always say, well, someone should study that. It's a quick test. It would not be that difficult to study that question. And so Raquel and Vanessa, I don't know if they're with us tonight, but they have been putting their heads together to figure out a very systematic way to answer that question. And they are looking at ways to give that test, document that they are doing Ayers sensory integration, and then giving that test again. It takes less than a minute to give that reflex test. So it's just a simple example of a clinical irritation that could turn into a project in a pretty feasible way.
That's such a great example. And I just want to say what an enthusiastic group of people we have in this area as well, which is so great. I see another question, Marco, that's about
Single subject design.
sharing the number of the WhatsApp number so they can get the resources for persons to contact about research. And I'll just say that the best strategy, Kelly, maybe you can elaborate on this, is to go to the website and go to that resources page. And we have lots of resources there that'll help guide you. And if you have a solid idea, we have a letter of intent form that you can fill out that actually also helps you create your research question, look at your methods and procedures, tell us about your data analysis, and we can give you some feedback on that. So we can help you hone your area of research, your research question, and your methods a bit. Yeah, there you go. Kelly's showing us now. Yep. We have certain priorities that we're particularly interested in that can help you think about areas of research. And then we have another listing of the different types of research, so you can take a look at that. And want to show them where the letter of intent is? Right there. I missed it. Yeah. So there's something that you can take a look at and fill that out, and then email it to us to take a look.
Yeah. And if you click on that, click here to view the LOI form. If you're unsure of where to start, if you just follow the steps that this form is asking for, it's like a step-by-step guide to help. If you kind of scroll down a little bit, it tells you all the things that you need when you're really thinking about a research project. So you can use that as a guide to help you design your study as well. And you can send it to us incomplete if you don't know, and we're happy to consult, but we do want you to come to us with some thought around it and having some ideas developed before we consult on those.
Yep. Okay, we got an awesome thumbs up. Any other questions in there, Marco?
We do. There's a question by Isaac Smith saying that their question is related to the single subject design. I know that this type of design has been used extensively in ABA to strengthen its research base. Do you think that this design can have the same benefits for OTs implementing AIRSSI?
I do. Great question. I really do. And I often talk about that, and say, look what they did. Look at the kind of support they got for this intervention by conducting systematic single subject case studies. And because it's perfectly suited to what we do as occupational therapists, because we are so individually focused. Each of our clients is unique, and the single subject design allows you to consider the uniqueness of each individual. One challenge, I think, with single subject, there are a few, but one is that you have to do repeated measurements over a period of time until you get a stable baseline. So whatever you're measuring, and I really suggest that you look at the Whiting article and take a look at how they did it, because it's just lovely and very clear how they measured over time until they got a stable baseline. Then you start the intervention, and then you continue to measure these same measures in the same way. And what you'll find is that you either see an improvement, you see a not improvement, a decline, or you see it holding steady. And whatever you see, it helps inform you as to whether this intervention in the way that you're doing it is helping this child or not. And that helps everybody. If you write that up in a scholarly way and submit it to a journal, that will help everybody know, hey, this kind of kid in this situation did or did not really benefit from this. These outcomes were not achieved, but these were. So it really helps us evolve our theory and practice, if you will.
Perfect. Thank you. We have one last question. And it's a little bit more broad, but what subjects do you recommend someone pursue a PhD in? Do you have any recommendations?
That's broad, yeah. Well, here's what I recommend. I recommend that you find, if you can, you find someone who is doing work in the area that you want to do work in, and reach out to them and become their PhD student. You often don't get to do your research the first time around on your PhD. You oftentimes have to partner with your research mentor and do what they're doing. And hopefully it is of interest to you. I think, what's the woman who's doing the vestibular research is it Argentina?
Valeria.
Valeria. That's what Valeria did. She found, she hooked up with a researcher who was doing research in the auditory system and looking at measures of that. And she was like, I'm going to learn how to do that. And then I'm going to ask questions about the vestibular system with this. And so it ended up that, she did her research with her mentor, and then her mentor got on board with her because her ideas and research were so interesting. So rather than pick your exact topic for your PhD, I would look at what's available to you in your area. Now, now that we're so virtual and online, you have more options, if you will, but try to find a PhD program that is in your area of interest and that has mentors that are exquisite. That's what Marco did.
Yeah, mentors played such a big role.
Yeah, such a big role.
That's such an important piece and such a great piece of recommendation. Ro, thank you so much. I think it's time for we wrapping this up, Suzanne.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna share this last slide. It has the dates of the upcoming webinars. They're always on a Wednesday about this time of day, as you know. Well, I hope that you'll come and join us at another one of these webinars. They will be recorded and available in the future. But Roseanne, thank you so much. And Kelly also, it was just really wonderful to hear from you. And Claire and Sue, thank you for your efforts and good luck on the fundraising for your scholarship.
I also want to say somebody already has donated. It was in the chat box.
I saw that. Yep. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
it tomorrow morning because it's late here.
Endowment. Thank you.
Thank you all. And Suzanne, thank you again for your leadership on these webinars. You do such a great job. And our classy
Oh.
team, thanks to everyone for making this possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
thank you.
It's a
Great
team
to
effort.
see you
Thank you,
all.
everybody, and stay
Everyone.
safe.
Thank you.
and
Good
we'll
night,
see
good
you next
morning,
time.
wherever you are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you, our
everybody.
Facebook
Bye-bye.
viewers. We'll see you next month.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
right.
Bye-bye.
Yes, stop the
Bye-bye.
recording. Bye.